What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Daily Dose. As always, I am your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my co-host, Matt McGinty. Gint, we had to start the show early today because Gint has some basketball stuff to take care of. So if you're able to catch up with us right now early in the afternoon, thank you coming along with us. And we're going to have a fun show because the Sixers extended their road winning streak to 4 games last night in Sacramento with a 119-111 victory over the Kings. Again, this team is finding ways to win on the road. Am I dreaming?
After last season, it might be a dream. Jesus Lord.
Don't wake me up because I don't know what is going on. They're fighting back down on the road too. You think to the Pacers game, you think they had Charlotte fought their way back and they had to keep Charlotte off their backs. And then last night they had like a 11-point lead in the first half, blow that, give up 71 points to the Sacramento Kings and De'Aaron Fox in the first half, hold them to 40 in the second half. So that's my first takeaway. Let's talk about last night's win a little bit, Gint. One of my takeaways is that switch that we just continue to talk about with this team that, great teams can do. And Sacramento, you don't think of them as a really good team. They were hot for a little while. I think they won 4 straight. They were looking for 5 last night, I believe, against the Sixers. They have some players. De'Aaron Fox is really, really good. I would think we already knew that, but last night I don't get to see a lot of Sacramento Kings basketball. So seeing how quick he is last night, and then the fact that he was hot from 3 early made it 1,000 times more difficult to guard him. Your boy Tyrese Halliburton is a young monster right now.
I can't believe that many teams passed up on him. He looked awesome. He's looked awesome all season.
Dude, he was giving them fits. Like I said, my first takeaway is that switch that they can just continuously flip. And it starts on the defensive end with that switch. Like, you gave up 71 points. I believe the Kings shot over 53% from three-point land in the first half. They couldn't miss. Buddy Hield couldn't miss. Halliburton, Fox, they were all knocking down threes. Bagley hit a 3. And then you let up 20 in the third, 20 in the fourth, outscore them by 12 in the fourth. It was a little bit reminiscent of the Brooklyn game on Saturday night. You know how they let Brooklyn hang around. I mean, Brooklyn was hanging around for a little bit of it. It was a close game late in the third, and then boom, Sixers took over. It was a comfortable win. It reminded me of that. So yeah, again, how's that switch looking for you from last night's game?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it again with how it's probably not the best habit to have, but it's a good thing to have against bad teams, which the Kings kind of fill that void of a not very good basketball team, even though, like we said, they have some players that can play. And we named a couple guys that can play. But my first takeaway player-wise, I'm going to go with Matisse Steibel. Matisse Steibel had 0 points last night, so he didn't light up the box score by any means, but he was the main guarder of De'Aaron Fox in the fourth quarter most of the time. I believe De'Aaron Fox had like 6 points on 1 of 6 from the field in the fourth quarter is the stat I think I read. But yeah, I mean, we talked in the beginning of the season saying he looked lost on the offensive end, which wouldn't say he's found his way on the offensive end considering he had 0 points, but he's playable. He's giving you something that you can use, which is just being a dog on the defensive end. So.
Yeah, I know if Nadir's watching, he's going to have something to say about this because, we praise Doc Rivers and that coaching staff too much for Nadir's liking, but I attribute a lot of Matisse's success right now to that coaching staff and Doc Rivers because I think they've carved out a good role for Matisse right now where he doesn't have to really do anything offensively. You just said goose egg last night. That's happened multiple times in wins this season where he hasn't scored and he's had a decent run in the game, but he's just in there late in the game, closing games out on the defensive end. And Ben had a comment. Did you see that? Ben was like, he loves playing defense with him and he kind of just like gives him a nod and he's like, all right, let's turn it up. And then Matisse locks down but the Sixers in the fourth quarter league ranks this year defensively. Dude, they're number 1 in every category. They are number 1 in defensive rating, net rating, opponent field goal percentage, opponent 3-point percentage, and then clutch league ranks. They're number 1 in win percentage and number 1 in wins.
Yeah, it's definitely what you like to hear.
Yeah. So that switch and Matisse, I think he's part of that switch because, like I said, it's been starting on the defensive end late in games, and then that gets their offense rolling. Another takeaway for me, Gint, is this was just I know I've said this multiple times on the show this year after games. This was just a really good win. And I know you said before the show that they didn't really play that well, and they didn't. They actually, no one played great. And that's why I think this win was so special, because you're on the road against a hot team. Like I said, they're not up to the Sixers standards, right? But nonetheless, West Coast trip, Kings are on a roll. De'Aaron Fox, Halliburton, they're torching you in the first half. You let up over 70 in the first half. Joel Embiid doesn't have it going. Toby was off to a slow start. You know, it's not like Ben dropped like 25. He gave you 14, filled the stat sheet. And then they end up with Joel Embiid, 25 and 17.
Yeah, which is
his worst game of the year was 25 and 17.
I was going to bring that up because after the game ended, I was like, he really didn't play that well. I wonder what his numbers say. 25, 17, and 6. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, and a season high 6 assists. Excuse me.
I was like, dude, this dude's on a different planet. That pass out of the double team to Tobias Harris, that I think put us up 5 or might have put us up 7, maybe.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. The corner.
That was like, you want to talk about something last year that you would have never thought would come true. That was like his best pass out of the post, I think, ever.
The cross-court pass over a double or triple team, one-handed to Tobias for a 3. So, yeah, I forgot about the 6 assists. He also had a couple steals late. He had a block or 2. And he was out of the game. He cut up his elbow. He cut up his knee. Literally, the dude was on the ground so often. He didn't have it going early, and he still dropped 25, 17, and 6, dude. And then when you look at Tobias, I think he had 10 points in the fourth quarter, if not more. Dude, Tobias finished with 22 and 10, and he got off to a slow start. It wasn't like, oh, Joel's not carrying the load tonight, so here's Tobias stepping up early. No. Furkan started off hot. He hit a couple shots. He had that dunk. He had that layup. Ben was aggressive early, had a few N1s. And then I think Joel only had 9 or 11 in the first half.
Yeah, he did. It was 9 points because it took him over 31 and a half. But another thing I wanted to mention, and when I wrote it down, what I wanted to mention, I wrote the bench, but for some reason Matisse was the only one that came out of my mouth. But I mean, your bench everyone gave you something. Dwight Howard had 8, 9, and 4 in 13 minutes of play. That's unreal for your backup center that's backing up right now the best center in the NBA.
Yeah.
And Shake Milton, who at one point you had exchanged texts me that he was bad, which he was. But then he got a couple buckets in a row.
Literally 2 minutes after I texted you,
so
he had a couple.
I ended up looking around, and Furkan did what we needed him to do: 5-7 from the field, 13 points, and he wasn't absolutely abysmal on the defensive side of the ball. So
no,
I mean, Steven said it best. He said that was their A game, which it was their A game. So if you're able to beat teams that are playing their best when you're kind of, I don't want to say playing your worst, because the only one that played necessarily really bad was Danny Green. But
yeah. All right, before we get to more takeaways, let me get to some more comments. This is literally the way to win the playoffs, and it is a great win because Sacramento played their A game, as you just said. Marquise is here. I'll get to his comment in a second because he has a good one at the bottom. I have zero worries about this team. None, nil, zilch. I'm going to have my own parade now. Marquise says, I got to admit, I was mad to stay up late as hell last night, but I got to admit, the win solved everything. All JoJo needed was a healthy offseason, no rehab, no post-op recovery. That's all he needed. I just hope he makes it through this season without any surgeries or anything, because that man is walking back to the locker room often. And here it is. This is another takeaway of mine. I'm happy Seth Curry is finally back. The thing with him, Gint, is they got him in a rhythm early. I remember 2 or 3 games ago, he didn't have a shot in the first half, or he was 0 for 1 in the first half. And obviously, when you have Joel Embiid and you want Ben to be aggressive, and you have Tobias Harris playing the way he is, they need the ball and to produce offensively and get their shots. But when you have a shooter like Seth Curry, who, by the way, ESPN, SportsCenter, StatMuse, whatever, they all put out earlier that he's making his own club, his 50-50, 100 club.
He hasn't missed a free throw. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's 30 for 30 this year. He's 34 of 34 going back to the end of last year.
Wild.
So last night, Seth gives you 22, 7 of 13 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, and he didn't even play that late. 25 games in, and it's time to evaluate Mr.
We did
Davis.
say that. That is funny.
The team?
Yeah, well, me and you mentioned before the game, we're like, all right, we're 25 games in. We're a little over the third. We can really evaluate where we're going.
Oh, yeah, before the show. No, yeah, me and Gint actually just said that. I was like, damn, 20. So, yeah, that's what we're going to get to after we start, after we finish up last night's recap. But what else you got, Gint? So, obviously, they strapped up defensively in the second half. Joel played his worst game of the season, and it was 25, 17, and 6. Seth is back. The bench was really good.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off what you said with Seth. Obviously, you come back from COVID. I don't know, like, you don't know how Seth feels. Obviously, your fatigue's going to be a thing. That's one of the main signs of the symptoms. So, like, I don't think anyone that was logical was worried. I know you and I share a mutual friend that is a big JJ Redick stan and had a lot to say about Seth Curry. And saying, because he had back-to-back scoreless games, and him and I exchanged some texts today, and I was just saying, like, you don't shoot 50, 50, and 100 for X amount of games, and all of a sudden get COVID and forget how to play basketball. Like, but someone mentioned from TPL saying, like, they would love to see the Sixers, like, dial some things up to get Seth good looks, which is what they did last night. And you got him back in the rhythm that you had him in before, and the train keeps moving.
Yeah, he had a huge step back 3 last night in the first half, because that's when they were down like 5, 7, 8 to the Kings, and he kept them in it, like Marquise says. And, that kind of let the big dogs eat later in the game. That's another thing, dude. Toby in the fourth quarter is slowly but surely coming that guy we were hoping, Ken.
Yeah.
It's not just Joel that you have to be a closer. Tobias Harris, that mid-range game, his dribble, quick decision, get the ball at the top of the key, get to his spot in the mid-range and pull up, because he is, what's Toby, 6'9", 6'8"?
Yeah, he's right around there. I'm pretty sure.
Right, so he can shoot over a lot of people, over mostly any guard and a lot of forwards. So he gets to that spot and he just raises up and he's knocking down the mid-range shots right now. He's knocking down his free throws late in the game when he gets there. He's hit a couple clutch threes late. He was 2 of 5 from 3 last night. Both threes came, I believe, in the fourth quarter. The corner 3, he had the corner 3 from Joel, and he had the one where Ben, or was that in the third quarter, when Ben dribbled up and tossed it back to him?
Yeah.
So both of his threes came at big moments in the game. So he's giving you offense outside Joel Embiid late in the game. And then someone, I think Brock from TPL might have posted the video, with like 1:10 left to go up 7 or whatever. Joel hits that, he swings through the fadeaway, like the free throw line. Dude, that's your center.
Yeah, like that.
With that amount of touch, icing the game from the mid-range with a swing through fadeaway.
Yeah, that's just a shot you could never imagine a guy that's his size making, in the degree of difficulty as well. Not just a 15-footer, I'm saying, the way it was shot. And to piggyback off your Tobias stuff, because again, you and I talked, I think it was literally the first time we ever did the show, and someone asked a question of who takes the last shot.
Yeah, that was the first show.
And we're not talking like buzzer beater. You're talking everything's going wrong. You lose an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Tied. You need a basket. And you and I both said, well, it would be great for our max player, Tobias Harris, to be that guy because you pay him to be. And he's been that guy. I mean, you saw it with the Lakers game winner. Last night he hit a couple shots, and he's hit shots all season. So
you know what it is, dude? You're seeing it. It's a confidence thing. Absolutely. I'm only watching it through a TV screen. I'm not around them. But when you watch, like, he hit that 3 that I'm talking about, I think out of the corner 3 from Joel, or one of the 3s he hit that I talked about, they called a timeout off of it, and he came running down the floor, and he was like fired up. Like, he's confident, dude. He's the quick decisions that Doc talked about. It's corny to say, but it's true. And he's just confident late in the game. And then when you have, in my opinion, the MVP of the league by his side right now, that can only make him more confident. And then when you have guys in the fourth quarter like Matisse and Ben who can lock down their other two best the other team's 2 best players defensively, and you don't have to carry that load, why wouldn't you be confident? Like, you're the second option offensively, and you're not a top 2 option defensively late in the game. So he's just playing freely, and he's coming through clutch. He really is.
Yeah, and it definitely helps with how you see the Holy Trinity kind of backing each other. And I know you wouldn't think a tweet saying Tobias Harris an all-star is big, but you see in the interviews and you see they just nonstop are talking about each other.
Every game.
He's Tobias Harris. He's the MVP. Joel Embiid talking about Tobias Harris. He's an all-star. He's an all-star. So, I mean, I think everything about this team right now is clicking, and the way they're playing together, whether that's on the court or off the court, is definitely paying dividends.
Well, did you see what Krell posted? Their backdrop for the interviews, the Sixers backdrop?
No, I don't think
he posted it yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. Their backdrop for behind the players, it's the stars and the Sixers logo, but across it, there's little pictures with their heads on it. It's Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris in star, so trying to get into the All-Star game. But this is something I want to touch on too. Steven says better communication about roles this year, or at least it looks that way. Yeah, dude. I just alluded to Matisse. That's one small example. I think everyone knows their role,
which has not been a thing in this organization.
No, when they can buy in like that, that's what you hear it all the time. And again, it sounds cliche and corny, but when a team can buy in, and guys that maybe want to dude, you don't think the way Seth Curry was shooting the ball and knowing what he can do offensively, you don't think that he wanted the ball late in the game?
No, yeah, absolutely.
And he didn't get, because that's not his role. It was Toby's time. It was Joel. It was whatever. Seth took a back seat and he gave you 22 or whatever in the beginning of the game.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of what the hell was I just about to bring up?
Knowing your role, buying in.
Yeah, just to date back to last year when we made that move at the deadline, we got Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson in third. Glenn Robinson in third literally voiced himself.
He didn't know.
I have no clue what to do here.
Yeah.
And then when you heard Jimmy Butler talk about the Sixers on the podcast with JJ Redick, he was like, I didn't know who was in charge. I don't know who was supposed to do what. I didn't know anything. So he tried to make structure himself, which is evidently why it didn't really work out.
Right. I like this comment from David. He says, players feeling that Tobias is an all-star means 1,000 times more for me than him actually making the team. That's a great opinion. I mean, that's a great comment, because obviously there's 12 spots in the East and there's a lot of good all-stars. And if his name is being mentioned throughout the league by those all-star caliber players as one of them, that means a good trend for the Sixers going forward later in the season, even if he doesn't make the roster. Although he should make the freaking roster. And the fact that he wasn't even on the voting list last time it came out is ridiculous.
I mean, we talked about this so many times that, we haven't talked about it, but if you watch Inside the NBA with Charles Barkley, Shaq, which I think is amazing, and whoever hates that just doesn't like to laugh. They say things, but it doesn't mean anything. But they just say that the fans shouldn't vote, and I agree. I think a lot of people do agree too.
I said that when I did it myself.
Klay Thompson got 91,000 votes is all you need to know. You know what I mean? But it's a way to get people engaged in the NBA, so I get it. And 9 out of 10 players that usually get right that who should start. Last year, Ben Simmons should have been a starter. I don't care what anyone says over Kemba Walker, but that's just...
dude, I've talked about that a lot, and that's when I did the show alone last week. I talked about the All-Star voting because it came out that day or the day before, whatever, and I said how, look, I don't think that Ben at that moment, and I don't think he's... we know what Ben does for this team, and you know how much I appreciate him. I don't think Ben's an all-star at this moment, averaging 13.8. You just don't make an all-star game being locked down defensively. But when you look at the list and Derrick Rose is above him that I hate that. I remember 3 years ago, Goran Dragic made the all-star game over Ben in the 2017
that was
season.
a coach's decision. That wasn't even the fan decision.
And then the fans, this is the part that always bothers me. And people might disagree here, because I know it's kind of cool if they're on their way out to get them in the game, but you're taking a spot from someone more deserving. I hate the nostalgia vote when these legends are on their way out of the game. You know what I'm saying? When Vince Carter made the All-Star game, when Dwayne Wade made the All-Star game, Dirk at the end of his career I don't like it, dude. You're taking a spot from someone.
The D-Wade Dirk thing was different because they added the spot for them.
Okay.
So I do get what you're saying.
Yeah.
with
it happens,
and especially with the fan vote when guys are still playing at a high level, just not an all-star starter high level, but they're playing high enough to the point where if they get the starting spot, it's like, oh, it's okay. But then you see, and this is just an example, like let's say Bradley Beal were to be off the list, which he was at one point last year. It's like he's averaging 35 points a game. He's averaging 16, and he's on the tail end of his career. So
right.
But it's going to be tough, and I think that being the 1 seed should help you.
Exactly.
And it really helped Draymond. Like Draymond Green's a 3-time All-Star, and Draymond Green was never putting up any numbers that were in all, and you get in the All-Star game. So I think the way Ben gets in will be obviously the coach's vote because it seems pretty wrapped
But
up.
even forget about Ben, dude. Toby didn't make he's averaging 21, if not more now.
No,
the number 1 seed in the East.
I don't think
he's not on the list.
I don't think it's a debate that Tobias Harris will get a vote from the coach's vote.
That's true.
I don't see how they don't. I feel like if I'm an NBA coach and you tell me your opinion here, when I'm voting, which I don't know how much time they take in to put, like, they could relatively just be like, check, I'm done looking at this, like, we have to game plan that, whatever. But, like, would you not start at, all right, here's Philadelphia there at the top. They have 3 really good players. Check.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't say, okay, Bradley Beal's 3 and 14. I'm not going to give him a check, but he's going to start. So it's like,
yeah. So let's talk about Ben last night's game, and then we'll evaluate because they are 25. They're over a third of the way through the season.
Yeah, it's the last third of the season too. Let me tell you,
over it. They're 25 games in. They sit at 18-7. By the way, side note, alluded to their road winning streak. Starters are 14-0 together. So for just throwing that out there, because I remember when we desperately needed James Harden, because that's going well in Brooklyn right now.
Did they lose?
They lost to the Pistons. And did you see Kyrie's comments that I sent in?
Oh, dude, don't even get that.
Oh, I'll get to them later.
I felt bad for Kyrie, but it's like he's doing it to himself at this point, man. Like,
we had to deal. This was his comment after the game. We had to deal with a player being pulled off the bench for COVID. Pretty sure now that I'm not positive on this, but the rumor is from people in the media that KD violated protocol. Yeah. So that's your dumbass fault. The league just isn't screwing you over. That's his fault. That's your teammate's fault. Okay. B, we're the ones that has to deal with the refs.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, what?
You have James Harden on your team. You can't complain about anything official wise.
No,
choose the most free throws in the NBA.
Oh my God, dude, I couldn't believe it when I read that. He's like, we're the one that has to overcome all this shit. I'm like, dude, you guys joined up with KD on an already all-star team that had some playoff team that had some pieces and was a tough out for teams. And then James Harden comes there and you got to overcome stuff. Oh my God.
Can we add him to your list or no?
What?
Can we add him to your list?
He'll take Scott Lawton's spot.
After the hat trick?
Yeah, after Scotty's hat trick, Kyrie can take that spot. But yeah. So anyway, one more thing before we move on. Ben last night came out of the gate aggressive. He's been coming out of the gate aggressive. I think he was 6 of 13 from the field last night. But here's the thing. Again, we love efficiency, all that. I look at the number 13. That's big for me. When Ben's taking 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 shots a night, that equals aggressive Ben Simmons. When he's finishing through contact, that's aggressive Ben Simmons. When he's taking that extra step and slowing down and dunking the damn ball instead of like going full speed at the rack and then throwing it off the glass and he doesn't have enough touch to finish, that's the Ben Simmons I like to see. He didn't shoot well from the line last night. He was 2 of 6. But guess what? He was 1 of 4 in the fourth quarter. Was he afraid to take those free throws at the end of the game when they fouled him on purpose? He called for the ball, stood there, fouled me, went 1 of 2. Okay, 2 of 6. That obviously I'd like to see that number up. But
let me cut you off real quick.
No, go ahead.
Because like 1 of 2, 50%, like you sounded, but the narrative against him is he's scared to have the ball. He doesn't want to have the ball in the fourth quarter because he'll get fouled. But it's like this season I don't know what he is from the line this season. I don't know the exact number, but it's improved mightily.
feels a lot better.
Exactly. He looks so much more confident going to the line, which he showed last night, like you said. But continue.
No, so my point is, ever since, oh man, I forget. I think it was like 5 or 6 games ago, whatever it was. Maybe the last time Joe missed. No, because that was the Pacers win. There was a game where Ben wasn't that aggressive, and it was after the Harden trade already went through, and like now people were getting even more mad. Ever since that night, I'm pretty sure he's had no less than like 9 shots, 9 field goals in a night, maybe 10 minimum. He's getting it to the rack early. Like he looks so much more confident. What's up?
Was it that Pistons game?
The loss?
Playing, we lost?
I think so.
It might have been that game.
I think so.
I know what you're saying.
So, and one thing that stood out to me too last night was he finishes through contact and gets the N1 and he like lets out one of those Ben roars. And guess who stands up off the bench? Sam Cassell.
I was going to say probably Dwight Howard.
No. Sam Cassell was the only Sam Cassell. All the coaches stayed seated. Sam Cassell stood up and was clapping. Like he is like, I don't know if that's something Doc put in place, but he's like the Ben whisperer. He's with Ben pregame every night, working with them. He's calling Ben over after a turnover or at the free throw line, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Yeah, so if this is true, yeah, Nadir says he's 62.6%, slightly better than last year.
He still needs to improve.
Yeah, but it feels a lot better. His form, better. Confidence, better. It seems like he's hitting. Here's another thing. It seems like he's hitting both in a pair a lot more often than he did before. You know what I'm saying? Normally it was he'd clank 2 or you'd go 1 of 2. Now, what was the one game? He was 10 of 12 from the free throw line or something like that. Yeah, so that's the improvements I'm talking about with Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not all going to come at once, and we knew that. And if you thought that, you're crazy.
Yeah. But you know what else is looking really nice? And if he can grow this and do it in the playoffs, that baby hook in the post.
Oh yeah, dude.
Sometimes he's too far from the basket and he does it and it hits the front of the rim and it's short. But when he hits it, touches nothing but nylon. If he can get that in his arsenal in the low post when he calls for the ball, and then he's too long and too big, no one's blocking that shot. So if he can get that going, that's nice to have.
And another thing you're not seeing, and I always miss parts of not last night because last night was a 10 p.m. start.
Yeah,
but he turned the ball over 2 times last night, and Jason Blevins came on here like when he was going through that little rough stretch. And he was calling it a pick 6, where he's going in the lane indecisively, jumping in the air, doing a 180 and trying to kick the ball out, and it's a live ball turnover, and they're getting a dunk. So I don't know if the whisperer, Sam Cassell himself, was like, "Yo, that ain't shit out." Yeah. Like if you're gonna attack the paint, attack the rim with a purpose. You know what I mean? And the pass he threw last night, by the way, was unbelievable.
The one to Danny Green,
dude, right in his pocket and left. I was like, "Oh my god!" Do
you know what's so funny about that? I can
throw that pass?
No. If that's Trae Young, or if that's Bron or Luka or Melo, LaMelo, like that.
Don't put LaMelo in there.
LaMelo's in there. Dude, look, they got their doors blown off by the Sixers in Charlotte, and Bleacher Report is posting the video of Joel Embiid thought the game was over and LaMelo did this. The game was over. Like what? Dude, it was stuff your stat sheet, you ass.
Dude, the Hornets announcer was like, and now they'll play the foul game. There's like 6 seconds left. They're down 5. I'm like, dude, what are you freaking out for?
Like, Jesus, that's what I'm talking about. That would have been so overblown. But anyway, I think we covered last night's win enough. It was a great win. Like I said, no one stood out. Joel Embiid, except for Seth. Joel Embiid, probably his worst game, 25, 17, and 6. Tobias Harris, quiet early, 22 and 10. Leads him to a victory. It's not like he got a lot from Danny Green, blah, blah, blah. So let's get into our evaluation. And let's see this comment. No, I didn't read it yet. He played really well. I love the way he becomes a wall for the shooters. What a luxury. Look at Nadir.
I'm glad we could come together, Nadir.
Yeah, I'm glad we can come together. So let's evaluate them. Getting 25 games in, like I said, 18 and 7, first place in the East. I believe by a game and a half over Milwaukee. They played one more game in Milwaukee, so let's just call it a game. But Milwaukee's got Phoenix tonight. Is that in Phoenix? Is that in Milwaukee? I don't know, but that's a tough game. So it could be a game by the end of the night. It could be a 2-game lead over Milwaukee by the end of the night. I think Brooklyn's third. They're 4.5 behind the Sixers. I think
4.5. Boston's 5 games back. Pacers are 5.5.
Okay, exactly. And the Pacers, I don't predict sniffing us. So you really got to hold off. If you're looking for that 1 seed, you got to hold off the other 3. And right now you got 5 on Boston, 4.5 on Brooklyn. The one that's right on your ass is Milwaukee, but that could be 2 by night's end. So let's get to it, Gint. Obviously, the thing that I'm going to stick on, 14-0 with the starters. 18-7 is amazing. It's a great start. 14-0 with the starters, fully healthy. That's another story, dude. Like,
yeah,
and that's going to come to an end. They're not going to run through the league undefeated together.
Well, once they lose, I'm curious to who's Ben trying to be shipped for. But
yeah. The starters are 19-1 together. Put Danny Green's ass on the bench.
Rumored to be moving to Philadelphia.
So, I guess how we can do this is there are some rumors of players that the Sixers could add via trade, via buyout market. When is the buyout, by the way?
I'd have to look at the exact date.
But regardless, Kyle Lowry is one that's being pushed through Gint and our leader here at TPL, Brian Jacobs.
It's unofficial, but they say March 1st.
March 1st. And apparently Kyle Lowry's
house in
Toronto is up for sale. Whatever that means, you tell me. JJ Redick is another name out there that the Sixers could add shooting off the bench. I know Gint's not a fan of it. I like it if he's coming off the bench in a limited role.
I shouldn't say I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not giving up anything besides the name Mike Scott.
Bro, I'd throw Mike Scott and a 2nd-round pick or 2 second-round picks. JJ Redick's value is nothing right now.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Dude, he's playing horrible this year.
He's DNP like every night.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, if that is legs, like if that's his legs gone and he's getting older, it's not going to work. Yeah. But if it's he just got off to a slow start, the fit's not there, now he's losing playing time, and he can come here and shoot for 39-40% from 3 off the bench when you have Danny Green, Seth Curry, Cork, all those guys, then you got some unreal shooters around Ben and Joel and shaking all off the bench. So that's a name. The Kyle Lowry is like, okay, again, evaluation time. Do the Sixers need a Kyle Lowry piece to really win you over that they're the 1 seed in the East, they can get to the NBA Finals and possibly win it? Or, as put, if they stay put, are they there?
That's such a tough question. It really is.
Oh, I'm putting you on the spot.
Because right now, as constructed, you and I have said the same thing. Until we're proven wrong, like, I think this thing's going to steamroll. But, I mean, you have to put in perspective what's out there. You know what I mean? Like, I understand, and I might sound like a casual when I say this, but, like, you have to understand that Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant are on the same team, and you have to beat them 4 times out of 7, which is not going to be something very easy. As well as, dude, Milwaukee's Milwaukee. And regardless of the struggles that they've had, they added all first defensive team guard, and they look good again. I don't think Boston can beat us as constructed or with Kyle Lowry. For right now, I'm going to say, yeah, I think we can win the Eastern Conference as constructed. And I don't say that like with like a scare.
Yeah.
I think we can win it. Now, on the other hand, you add Kyle Lowry.
Where does Kyle Lowry fit in the scheme of things, though, when it comes to who are you shipping off for them? So who are you taking away from their depth or onto the bench?
See, that's another thing that's the issue. Danny Green has to go in the deal, I'd assume, because you're not obviously going to give up one of the Holy Trinity members.
Right. And you're not giving up – I'm not giving up Seth for him.
No. I mean, I don't think that contract's way too good.
Yeah.
But you give up a lot of length on the defensive end by doing that. Which, when you look at Brooklyn, Milwaukee, which we talked about a lot,
right,
just the length of their wings.
But so you add a guy that's paired with Joel Embiid's going to draw a million gazillion fouls.
I mean,
you add a guy that can match Kyrie scoring, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, he's been good in the NBA for how long?
Yeah.
But Nadir kind of just said it. I've always been big on if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
Which we haven't lost at full strength. You know what I mean? So it's really tough. I love Kyle Lowry. He's a Villanova guy. I love all Villanova guys, especially Josh Hart, who had 20 and 17 last night. Just to mention, he's another name that I really thought like, oh, they might move him this year because I thought they would be decent, which they're not horrible, but they're just so weird. The Pelicans are just a weird team.
I believe that the 76ers can win the East, and I believe they can finish first or second in the East and win the East and make it to the NBA Finals as constructed. It's interesting, the Kyle Lowry talk, because I feel like it's gaining a slight amount of traction every day, even though like it hasn't been reported on, if that makes sense. And like it just makes too much sense. I don't want to break up the starting five because, like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I oddly like Danny Green. Like I know he struggles and like he's off and on and he's a streaky shooter, but I don't know why I just like his fit in this offense. But at the same time, you replace Danny Green's offense with Kyle Lowry. That's a humongous difference, dude.
Yeah, and Kyle
Lowry doesn't need the ball.
Exactly, and he gives you that secondary handler that Seth has been that guy. And he hasn't been bad at it, but Kyle Lowry's a way better playmaker. And hit.
For all those people that aren't trusting Toby as a closer, there's a closer.
Well, yeah, I mean, that just gives you another aspect. Like, Kyle Lowry's not a guy that you could say he's not break him down off the dribble.
No, but
he's something else. And I don't know if the Kyle Lowry thing's as big as it is, but, like, we just see it a lot because Brian Jacobs is
Brian's got it so embedded in my head.
Such a good Twitter account with it, and then I saw Tiago tweet something about it too, and I was like, I wonder if like are other people thinking this? And I see Mark, who we had on this show, start saying how it's not an option, and the Tyrese Maxey, which didn't even play last night, which we should have brought that up.
Yeah,
I don't really know what's going on there.
So, I guess outside of Danny, what else is the package for Lowry?
I think
like, are you giving up like Danny, Shake?
No, Maxey would have to go, I'd assume, and I think Mike Scott would probably be a filler.
So let's say,
then you give him a pick,
a second round, Mike Scott, Tyrese Maxey, and Danny Green for Kyle Lowry.
That's if Toronto's ready to ship it
up.
Because
they're back into like a playoff spot now.
Oh, they're 11 and 13. Yeah.
Well, they started off really slow, but they're back almost. That you're right, but like my question is it just a coincidence that his house is up for sale? Like, if that's true, is it maybe he's just moving in Toronto?
Well, that's another thing. People don't ever like talk about how dude, you remember when LeBron was rumored to be coming to Philadelphia?
He was looking at schools for his kids.
Kids were rumored to be at Malvern Prep, like, and then kids from Malvern Prep was like, "Yo, we're here." He's not here. Yeah. That's incorrect. But like, he literally could just be moving in Toronto to a bigger house or somewhere else. You know what I mean,
damn, dude, I don't know. I love this team. I love the chemistry. That's another thing, dude. If you're giving up, let's say, Danny, one of the starters, one of the veterans that's gelling with like gelling this team together, molding this team together. You're giving up young Maxey or shaking the deal or whatever. Like, does that somewhat mess up the chemistry?
And that's the question. Are you ready to take that gamble? I mean, don't get me wrong, things can start going south. I know we're 14-0. We can lose 5 straight. It's not right. Picture, you know what I mean?
Especially with this road trip we're having.
That's what I'm saying. And then you start, like I said, the finger point. It's like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, besides those moves, I mean, ideally a stretch 4 is still an option that you'd love. I'm not huge on this PJ Tucker thing that's going on.
No?
I just think he's a name that
not in the trade. No,
as a buyout player.
Yeah. No, really?
I don't mind him.
I think he would bring a physicality.
He's just a little bit better Mike Scott.
I disagree. I think the Hive is really bad.
I'm so caught on another Brian Lowry Markkinen, dude. Like, that would be awesome.
Brian, Brian, if you're going to watch this or watching this, stop putting these thoughts in my head.
Dude, mine too.
Now I want them. But like I do and I don't, because I don't want to give away too much. Because in my mind, if you go out and get Lowry or Markkanen, but you got to give up 3 dudes that are playing right now. I'm not talking Mike Scott. I'm talking Danny Green, Shake, or like. Obviously, I'd rather have Kyle Lowry or Markkanen than those guys. But if you have to group, we already don't have a ton of depth.
Well, that's the thing.
And if you have to package most of that depth for one guy, you're turning into a lesser version of Brooklyn, in my opinion.
Yes.
If Brooklyn and the Sixers don't have depth, that both their benches kind of stink. And would you rather have Harden, Irving, Harris, and Durant, or Embiid, Simmons, Toby, and whatever? The thing that gives me the edge over Brooklyn, not only with our size and Joel, is our bench compared to theirs.
No, 100%. But any guy you're getting, I mean, you look at what you just get. That we'd be saying you give up.
Theoretically, should produce way more than the guys that
you're giving up. DNP, Tyrese Maxey, DNP, Mike Scott,
right?
Danny Green,
right?
So you're still gonna have Shake the White, 2 out of 3 of Maxey, Matisse, and Furkan, unless someone else has to go in the deal, and the deal's a little bit bigger than I think.
And you still have Isaiah Joe.
I think
that can shoot.
But no, I know I get what you're saying. I saw something on Twitter yesterday. It was a retweet for Isaiah Joe favorite for Furkan Korkmaz, and I don't know if Isaiah Joe's like fan account is the one that tweeted, but dude, someone loved him. It was unbelievable. But and then you just have the idea of trying to improve the bench at the deadline rather than trying to jack up a starting 5. And you go.
By the way, disclaimer for everyone watching or going to watch this: this is not Git and I saying I want to break up the team. We need to make a trade. These are names that are floating out there that could be moved. Do they push the Sixers to a championship this season, or can they do it now? 25 games in, I think they can do it now. But I think Kyle Lowry ups your odds a little bit, as long as you don't have to give up too much of your depth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I also think for Lowry, I think they could get a better offer from somebody. Like
Toronto?
Yeah, Toronto could probably get a better offer than we can give them.
Unless he has say in it, where he wants to play.
Yeah, well, sorry to bring on for the 1,000th time. Brian Jacobs put up it was a picture of probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was the rumor that Kyle Lowry wanted to play in Philadelphia. Dude, that picture was so funny. But I mean, I look at guys like Taurean Prince, and I know I just named him Josh Hart. These are guys that you can make a move for and not give up much, and you can improve your bench. You become less positionless. You get a couple more wing guys to throw at these wings in the East. So
here's what I'll wrap up our evaluation through 25 games. Sixers are 18-7, first place in the East, 14-0 with the starters fully healthy. I think they are the best team in the East. I think they can win the Eastern Conference as is. I don't know if any of those players that like the Kyle Lowry or Markkanen or whatever thing happens. I don't think it does. What I will tell you is I don't think Daryl Morey stays pat. I don't think he makes a trade or a big trade, but I think somehow, some way, buyout market or giving up a couple second-round picks and Mike Scott or whatever, or Ferguson gets you one of those guys, a guy like that, a 3-and-D type guy, big wing that you just referred to, that can eat up minutes in the postseason. I don't think we go into the postseason with the rotation as it is now. I think there's another piece or two down the line that you get for cheap that can help you win.
Yeah, and I think Paul Hembekita said that when he was on here. He was like, in March, I don't think this will be the same team. And that was when they looked really good. You know? Yeah. So, I mean, and they still do look really good. Don't get me wrong, but you can always improve. There's not many teams that have stayed pat at the deadline or the buyout market. Like when LeBron was in Cleveland, dude, they were bringing in guys left and right. Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, Darren Williams. You know what I mean? So there's always ways to get better.
There is, Ken. So I'm going they can win the East right now. I'll talk about the finals if and when we get there. Because you know what the thing is? I don't got to worry about anyone in the West until we get there. So I'm not going to say, talk about the West. Obviously, they've beaten the Lakers. I think the Lakers are the best team in the West. There was only one game. Came down to a final shot by Tobias Harris. Who knows how that matches up in a series? I got to worry about the East and can we even get to the finals? I think they're good enough to get there. And if you're good enough to get there, you're good enough to contend for the championship. So there you have it.
I agree with you. I totally agree with everything you just said.
Let's see. Has Carson left the city yet? No, he is not, Nadir. No, he's not. Did you see the thing that the John Kincaid show did? I think that's pretty cool. And then the AO1 Foundation tweeted it out.
I can't even talk about him, dude. I just ordered all my Chicago Bears memorabilia. I'm gonna hang it up behind me.
Yeah, I went to Rally House yesterday, and all his stuff is on like shelves and racks for like 50% off.
Dude, it's like a retail central. I mean, it's clearance central over there, bud.
I'm about to just go grab everything I can.
I don't want to get on this topic, but like, if either of those, the Colts or the Bears, make a move and get a quarterback, oh, dude, the haul they're gonna have to give up for Carson Wentz and what they're gonna get back. We're talking about the second round pick. All of a sudden, we're begging for
it. You know they're going to screw this up still, right? Like, because I don't want them to go.
I don't think I have any faith in anything.
You know what's going to happen. Apparently, they're getting a first round pick back right now. They still haven't pulled the trigger. Howie is going. I don't want him to leave, but Howie is going to Howie this as much as he can, and those first round pick offers are going to be revoked.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to end up with like a second and a third. That's what's going to happen because he didn't want to he wanted 2 firsts instead of 1. It's unbelievable.
Someone came out and said, who was it? I forgot. I saw a tweet. It was an NFL insider. He said, don't get it twisted. Teams know what Carson Wentz really is, and they're not banking on 1 year, and Philadelphia will end up with 2 first round picks.
Yeah, compensation. I saw that. Now, here's one thing I will touch on. I wasn't planning on getting into this.
Me neither. And we got like 5 minutes. So.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just go here, right? If he's such a bad teammate, first of all, I was watching the Missinelli show before this started, and someone, it might have been Marcus Hayes, I don't know, wrote an article. If anyone knows about this, tell me, about how he has betrayed Philadelphia. He's like the villain in Philadelphia. He's left the Eagles quarterbackless, hurt them financially. He's not Philadelphia. He's soft. He's this, blah, 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 right? Okay. First of all, you're a jackass. Just throw that at you. Secondly, because if anyone hurt the other, it's the Eagles hurt him, okay? Why the hell would he want to be in that relationship? Secondly, if he's such a bad teammate, because that's another thing, right? It's not that he's a bad guy, but there's the rumor out there from some players, and you see the young guys like Sanders and Rager and all, they lean Hurts, and it's like, and it's Carson's a diva, he's a bad teammate, he didn't listen to Doug, blah, 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 right? Okay. Why did it all just start this year? I mean, there was the rumor, remember last year the snitch thing happened, and they thought it was Alshon Jeffrey, blah, blah, blah. Like, that came out in 2019. But what happened in the first 3 years when there was success within the organization and him?
Exactly.
There wasn't a goddamn rumor out there about his character, him being a teammate. He had the wide receivers and tight ends out to North Dakota fishing and hunting and bonding and doing everything like that in the offseason. His boys with all the offensive linemen. All of a sudden, he's not a good teammate. How come? I actually screenshotted it. Someone put up a tweet or a picture or a video of Carson Wentz. Like succeeding somewhere else, and Torrey Smith quoted it and said, "I guarantee it."
Yeah.
Like, how come you got all these? You got guys like this coming up to him. Darius Slay, did you see that? Darius Slay quoted the one thing about Watson and him, and Darius Slay meant it as the racial issue, not Carson. And then someone said, "Damn, Slay, like you don't like that's how you feel about Carson," and he goes, "Carson's the homie," blah blah blah. Like he didn't mean it like that. He meant it in the way that how Watson gets treated by the media for wanting out compared to what Carson's going to be treated like. So like, I don't know if he's such a bad teammate and he's such a bad guy and everything like this. Where's the proof? Where is it? Because it would be out there. And I'm not going to lie. Like we talked about it yesterday, this team's becoming very unlikable. Some of the young guys are becoming very unlikable.
Yeah. Agreed. Can't believe we just ended like that. How did we get here?
I don't know. We just talked about how the Sixers could win the East and get to the finals. And I just ended on this note. Holy shit. All right. With that being said, the Sixers are back at it tomorrow in Portland at 10, right? Another late game for this road trip. They're tomorrow at 10 in Portland, and then I believe they're Saturday at like 3 against Phoenix.
Yeah, it got moved up. I think it's 3 o'clock. It was 5. I'm pretty sure it's 3.
Yeah, it's 3. So that'll be fun, I guess. Middle of the afternoon Sixers game.
Yeah, we should do a show Saturday.
Yeah?
Yeah, like maybe mid-afternoon before the game.
Yeah. Pre-game show.
Maybe. Right. See what we're doing.
Yeah. Flyers are off the books for the rest of this week at least, because their Devil series coming up got postponed because the Devils have like 20 dudes on the COVID list. Now Giroux, Braun, and another Flyer ended up on the COVID list, so their second Capitals game got canceled last night. So they're out until at least past Sunday. We'll see what happens with them. They had a big win over the Capitals, so hopefully they keep that momentum going when they get back. Gint will not. Oh, you might be tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll find. I'll keep you updated tomorrow.
Yeah, Gint may be here tomorrow. If not, I know I wasn't yesterday. I definitely will be here tomorrow with you guys discussing tomorrow's Portland matchup and everything like that. The Faithful Fanatic Show, myself, George, Snap, will be back here wherever you're watching us now at 5 o'clock tonight. So stay tuned for that. Comment with us. We're going to be talking about Super Bowl 55, some more Sixers talk, evaluation, Eagles, much greater in-depth into the Eagles and everything like that. And maybe have a good discussion. I don't know if I feel like doing it without getting.
Yeah, you don't have me on the back lines there.
Yeah. But with that being said, you can follow myself on Twitter at DylanJD98, Gint at Matt_McGinty. Follow the Painted Lines at the Painted Lines. Subscribe, like this video on YouTube. We're also on Twitch now if you're watching there. Have a good night.